The movie begins in Bogotá, Colombia, where Fabio, a member of a drug cartel, meets with his boss, Don Luis, to discuss his plans to retire. Fabio hands over all the bookkeeping records, and they embrace before Fabio leaves. Fabio is disappointed because he expected Don Luis to be angry. He realizes that Don Luis will likely come after his family. Fabio now has 1 hour to escape, so he rushes back home, posting security guards outside his house. At home, Fabio tells his wife to pack quickly, but his daughter, Cattaleya, says she is already packed. He gives Cattaleya a microchip, instructing her to take it to the address on a piece of paper if anything happens. He also gives her a special necklace. Shortly after, Don Luis's men arrive. Fabio wants to flee with his family, but it is too late. He bids farewell to Cattaleya as his guards outside are shot down, and Fabio prepares for the inevitable confrontation. As gunshots are heard downstairs, Cattaleya just sits frozen, terrified. Don Luis's men, led by Marco, have killed her parents. Marco sits down to talk to Cattaleya, claiming to be a friend of her father and asking about the microchip. Cattaleya remains silent, then suddenly stabs Marco in the hand with a knife, vowing to kill Don Luis. She escapes through a window, climbs to a ledge, and swallows the microchip. They chase her relentlessly, but Cattaleya, who knows the area well, manages to evade them, even with parkour runners, motorcycles, and cars pursuing her. She finally escapes by diving into a sewer. Cattaleya emerges from a manhole and makes her way to the American embassy, where she vomits up the microchip. The embassy staff realizes that the microchip contains incriminating information about Don Luis's illegal activities. An agent named Ricker interviews Cattaleya and learns about her father's death. Ricker informs her that the microchip is her passport to safety. In exchange for the microchip, they provide her with American citizenship and papers, welcoming her to the United States. While being escorted by a CIA agent, Cattaleya asks to use the restroom but instead escapes through a window. She heads to a bus station, buys a ticket to Chicago using the address her father gave her, and boards the next bus, reading a magazine along the way. Upon arriving, she gives the address to a man, who takes her to Emilio, her uncle. Emilio is busy torturing someone when he hears Cattaleya has arrived. Emilio comes out to comfort her after the death of her parents. The next morning, Cattaleya meets her grandmother at breakfast. She asks about the room she slept in, and Emilio explains that it belonged to his son, who is now dead. He tells her that he avenged his son's killers. When Emilio asks Cattaleya what she wants to be, she says she wants to be a killer and asks him to teach her. Emilio agrees but insists that she must first go to school, as knowledge is essential for survival in their world. He gives her the choice between going to school or becoming a killer, and she reluctantly chooses school. 15 years later, Cattaleya is a grown woman. One day, 2 police officers are sitting in their car when a drunk woman crashes into them. The woman, who is actually Cattaleya in disguise, is arrested and charged with DUI and destruction of police property. She is taken to a cell. That night, U.S. Marshals arrive with a prisoner named Gennaro Rizzo, a gangster, and place him in a cell near Cattaleya's. Cattaleya, who has been feigning sleep, wakes up after the guards leave. She quickly sets up a plan, redirecting a security camera and using a spoon and a disposable cup of water to short-circuit the ventilation system. She sneaks through the air ducts, knocking out a guard and stealing his gun. Cattaleya then confronts Gennaro Rizzo in his cell, forces him to remove his shirt, and puts an end to his miserable existence. The gunshot alerts the marshals, who rush to the scene, only to find the guard Cattaleya knocked out, now framed with a gun in his hand. Meanwhile, Cattaleya returns to her cell, pretending to sleep as if nothing happened. By the time the officers check her cell, they find her there, unaware of her actions. The next day, FBI agent Ross arrives to investigate and examines the body of Gennaro Rizzo, noticing a flower mark on it that links the murder to 22 others he has been investigating for the past 4 years. Cattaleya is released after her fingerprints are taken, but as she leaves, she pulls off a fake latex skin, revealing that the fingerprints were not hers. Agent Ross, puzzled by the flower mark left at the crime scene, orders his team to search for more information, while Cattaleya, now disguised, contacts Emilio to inform him that everything went according to plan. Meanwhile, Ross starts to suspect that the flower mark might be a message to someone and decides to publish details of the murders in the newspapers. Elsewhere, a CIA agent named Richard travels to New Orleans to meet Don Luis, who is now in witness protection in exchange for information. Richard shows Don Luis the newspaper articles about the murders, and Don Luis orders Marco to handle the situation. Cattaleya returns home, plays some music, and starts dancing before preparing her firearm. Agent Ross, having gathered his team, presents the past victims and speculates that one of the people at the prison committed the murder, though he believes it was a man. Cattaleya's boyfriend, Danny, arrives home, and they have unprotected sex. The next morning, Cattaleya leaves early and meets Emilio at a laundry room, where he gives her the details of her next assignment and shows her a newspaper article about her killings. Emilio blames her for making reckless choices, reminding her that he promised to look after her. However, Cattaleya is determined to continue, insisting she won't stop until she gets Don Luis. Emilio warns her that she has become a shadowy figure, a killer with a dark heart, but she remains resolute. Ross, having made some progress, discovers that the flower mark on the dead bodies is called Cataleya, a flower mostly grown in Colombia, but he is unable to access more information due to the CIA overpriced firewall. Cattaleya, meanwhile, trains her dogs, acquires weapons from a man named Pepe, and obtains an inauthentic Mexican passport. In a separate scene, an overweight hedge fund manager is seen at a mansion surrounded by drop-dead gorgeous women. When one woman complains that the sharks in a nearby pool are ignoring her, the manager explains that just one drop of blood would make them turn on her. He then orders extra security as he continues to enjoy his blessed lifestyle. Security arrives at Oswell's place as Cattaleya swims through the aquarium, pushing up a glass cover to retrieve her gun and silencer. The hedge fund manager wakes up, shocked, and realizes that Cattaleya has written thief on him, along with a flower. Terrified, he tries to escape, but discovers that all his guards are dead. He grabs a pistol and heads towards the aquarium, where he finds a flower left by Cattaleya. As he turns, intending to shoot, he finds his pistols are empty, and Cattaleya shoots him in the legs. He pleads for his life, but she shoots him in the chest, leaving the pool sharks to dine on him. Agent Ross calls CIA agent Richard to inform him about a killer connected to the flower symbol, but Richard dismisses him and contacts Marco to handle the situation. Marco and his team are in the USA, searching for Cattaleya, vowing to interrogate every Colombian they meet. Cattaleya arrives at Danny's place, finding a note from him saying he's out and inviting her to rest and feel at home. She relaxes by sleeping and hugging his shirt. Meanwhile, Agent Ross continues to search for Cattaleya in the database but finds nothing. When Danny returns, Cattaleya is happy to see him and tries to kiss him, but he repudiates her, wanting to get to know each other better first. Danny presses her for more information, but she remains reluctant. They eventually become intimate, and the next morning, Danny prepares breakfast and snaps a quick photo of her. Cattaleya rushes out, already late for a meeting with Emilio. She meets Emilio at a library, where he is displeased. 8 Colombians have been killed, including a friend of his. He tells her that she needs to retire because she's bringing danger to the family. Emilio expresses how difficult it has been since he lost his son, and now, family is what matters most. He leaves after handing her a family photo. Danny, meanwhile, is at a coffee shop with a buddy, telling him how much he loves his girlfriend. His buddy asks to see a photo, which Danny shows him. While Danny steps out to attend to his illegally parked car, his buddy sends the photo to his sister-in-law to verify if Danny is dating someone trustworthy. Agent Ross is at his office when Cattaleya's photo pings in the database. He traces the signal and confirms Cattaleya is the assassin he's been looking for. Cattaleya visits her grandmother at church, who is happy to see her. However, Marco is tailing them. The FBI traces the source of the photo, and Ross matches Cattaleya's identity with footage from the prison, confirming she is the assassin. Cattaleya, now at home and neck-deep in thought, calls Danny, unaware that his phone is tapped. She expresses her feelings for him, but the FBI is closing in. She notices the photo sent earlier and checks her surroundings, realizing the SWAT is about to tornado her apartment. She prepares for her escape just as Agent Ross reaches Oswald's place. Cattleya evades the SWAT, taking the stairs and moving through various apartments before entering an air duct. The SWAT plants a bomb on her door, but she blasts through another wall, escaping down the elevator. She makes her way to the garage, shoots the cameras, and changes clothes before heading to the subway. Cataleya arrives at Emilio's apartment, only to find everyone dead, including Emilio. She screams in anguish. Ross returns home to find Cataleya waiting with a gun. She motions for him to sit and reveals that she has rigged his chair with a pressure-sensitive explosive, warning him not to try anything funny. Cataleya discloses that she is the one he has been hunting and that the flower tag was a message to lure out Don Luis. She informs Ross that Don Luis has killed the last of her family, and she needs him at any cost. Cataleya threatens to kill a family member of Ross's each week unless he gets the information about Don Luis from the CIA. She promises the bomb will be deactivated once she leaves, which it is. Ross meets with CIA agent Richard and explains the situation, but Richard is reluctant to provide information on Don Luis. As Ross is leaving, Cataleya calls, telling Richard that he either gives her the information, or he dies. Confident in his reinforced glass, Richard resists, but when Cataleya shoots through the glass, he panics and gives her the address immediately. Cataleya prepares her weapons and visits her dogs before grabbing an armored truck to head for Don Luis. A lawyer, Stanley Smith, arrives at his office to find Cataleya waiting, demanding the schematics of Don Luis's mansion. Meanwhile, Marco prepares his team, knowing Cataleya won't be easy to defeat. Suddenly, a rocket blows up the room where Don Luis is, causing him to fall. Marco drags him to safety, while the gangsters prepare a getaway car. Cataleya rams the truck into them and peppers everyone inside. Marco hides Don Luis, but Cataleya systematically eliminates the gangsters one by one. Marco throws an explosive where he believes Cataleya is hiding, but she emerges from above, killing the gangsters as they attempt to ambush her. It's now a face-off between Marco and Cataleya in an intense full-contact fight. They seem evenly matched until Marco tries to shoot her, but Cataleya ejects the clip and rips the slide off the gun, shooting him in the neck, retiring him permanently. Don Luis tries to escape in a van but ends up trapped in a dead end by a garbage truck. Cataleya calls him using Marco's phone, and Don Luis warns her that he will seek revenge, claiming she can't kill him. Unimpressed, Cataleya orders her dogs, which were in the van, to attack the good Don, and they do. Now, Cataleya finally feels relieved. Danny is being questioned by Ross, but he knows little about Cataleya. While Ross steps out to get coffee, Cataleya calls Danny, giving him 40 seconds before the phone trace kicks in. She allows him to ask 3 questions. He first asks her name, to which she replies, Cataleya. He then asks if she will ever return, and she says, maybe one day. Finally, she tells him to always leave his window open. Before Ross can trace the call, Cataleya hangs up. Danny is released, and Cataleya prepares to leave, bringing the movie to a cinematic close. Thanks for watching. Until next time, have a nice day.